Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space for all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday. We have a thought piece scheduled to drop in the next upcoming few weeks, so definitely be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available wherever podcasts are playing, and we provided you with access to a few links down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today's topic of discussion is mental health. And on the conversation around mental health this week, I want to talk about intrusive thoughts. And I want to talk about intrusive thoughts because a lot of the times we don't recognize an intrusive thought for what it is, which is an unwelcomed guest. A lot of us haven't yet come to the realization that we are not our thoughts. We think that we are our thoughts, but actually no, we are not our thoughts. And the quality of life we live stems from large in part the quality of thoughts we entertain. Key emphasis on the word entertain. You can choose what thoughts you ruminate on and what thoughts you don't, but this is a habit. It becomes muscle memory, the kinds of thoughts that you hold on to. And so all of us have different kinds of intrusive thoughts, and I like to think of intrusive thoughts as an indication of the wounds that we've healed from and that we're healing from. For me, myself, and I, a lot of my intrusive thoughts were hypercritical. They're hypercritical because I grew up in a hypercritical environment. It is the product of my now, long-term recovery of perfectionism, but a lot of my perfectionism came from the intrusive thoughts that I would entertain that would enable me, or that would be the reason why I would show up in specific ways. I would be in front of and on top of the intrusive thoughts that were hyper-criticizing me of the ways that I was showing up, because that was how I grew up. And so the way that I would navigate in the world around me was through hypercritical thoughts and hyper-criticizing myself so that I could excel. And a lot of it was to push against those hypercritical thoughts. I ruminated against the thoughts that irritated me and angered me the most, that I wanted to prove wrong. And much of my accomplishments, good or bad, are a byproduct of me wanting to prove a lot of those hypercritical thoughts wrong. But a good output or a good byproduct of that pursuit and of being so laser focused on that is that the more that I did, the more that I accomplished, the more that I grew, the less those thoughts had power, right? They lost their power, they lost their significance until I reached such a state in my healing journey that I just didn't care to entertain them anymore. And part of that came with meditation, but meditation within the style of recognizing the power of choosing your thoughts. So as you're meditating, you recognize how the thoughts just kind of pop up and how they intrude. And the more you dwell on the quality of your thoughts, so you think about the thinking that you're entertaining, the more you recognize, well, what is this doing? How is this serving me? And oftentimes we fail to ask that question. We immediately immediately entertain the thought that comes up without first qualifying the thought as something that is going to be helpful or hurtful. And I think the first stage in me really addressing the hypercritical intrusive thoughts I was navigating through as part of my life and learning to break free from was deciding, how is this thought helping me? And at first it was the thought that just fueled me, it drove me forward, but not in the best way, right? There was a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors that came with a lot of the accomplishments and a lot of the successes that I had. I could have done a lot of things very differently if I wasn't driven by hypercritical thoughts, by intrusive thoughts. And so as I began this art of meditation and starting to just build the practice of developing the muscle to discipline my mind in what thoughts I felt were important to entertain, what thoughts I would entertain later, and what thoughts I just would not entertain at any point in time, it became rote. It became the cycle of thoughts that would show up, right? So the thoughts that I care to engage with, the thoughts that I care to entertain are the thoughts that would come up because they're the ones that are going to retain my attention. But a lot of the times we find ourselves driven by our intrusive thoughts. We really don't know what to do other than entertain our intrusive thoughts, even when they're hurtful, even when they're not helpful. And so I want to come in here and I want to talk a little bit about the intrusive thought as being the unwelcome guest or the telemarketer phone call. I think let's frame the intrusive thought in a way where we can decidedly and decisively move to action and action unapologetically, because we know what we are going to do if we receive that knock on the door asking us to read a pamphlet for a community or for a group or for whatever that we're not interested in. We're just going to say not interested. We're going to close the door. Same thing if we get like an unknown call. We want to know who's calling. If it's not of interest to us, then we disconnect that call immediately, and somehow we fail to use that same discipline, that same muscle when it comes to our inner thought life. And I think that it's so important that you develop the habit of thinking about your thoughts, of thinking about the quality of your thoughts. And a lot of the times I am perpetually daydreaming, not because of the thoughts I'm entertaining, but because of the thoughts that I'm entertaining about the thoughts that I've entertained and the thoughts that have come up, because I very much am mindful about the quality of my thoughts. And when a thought comes up and is different from what's on the typical circuit, I'm going to think about why that came up. I'm going to think about what it was in my environment or that I allowed into my environment that created room for that kind of thought to kind of take ground and take up space where I typically would rather think about other things. And I'm going to give the thought the time that it warrants. And I think that that's an important word, because I don't think every thought warrants the same amount of time and attention. I will give every thought the attention that I feel it requires in order for me to push forward what's past in a healthy and adaptive way. And feeling as though we are slaves or beholden to our thoughts is just not the best way of moving forward. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the people around you. And if you're like me and you love thinking, like thinking is just the thing that you enjoy doing, or perpetually in your head and daydreaming, well, it's a great opportunity to develop the muscle that when you're doing that thinking work, it's to your benefit and not to your detriment. And a lot of us, we find ourselves feeling very helpless when it comes to our thought life. And I think that it's going to impact our quality of life. So why not take the time, carve the time away, as we would do if we were thinking about building out our fitness plans or building out development plans. We carve time to build the muscles that we require, develop the skills that are going to help us long term. And I think that when we take into consideration the power of our thought life, then we recognize that it's just so important to develop the practice of mental discipline and disciplining our minds and training our minds to attend to and attract the kinds of thoughts that we know are going to help us and not hurt us. So that was the topic of conversation that I wanted to have today, the food of thought that I have for you. And the next time you have a thought that you know isn't helpful, that you know is a habit, and that you know ultimately is hurtful, then I want you to practice this exercise. I want you to ask yourself, well, how is this helping me? And if it's not helping me, what can I switch the channel to? How can I pivot this thought in a way that it can be something that is more constructive? Or how do I change the channel and distract myself with thoughts or with different stimuli that is going to serve me better than how this thought in and of itself is going to support me? So that was the topic for today. Definitely it, but not all. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops largely focused on self-mastery over and above those events. So check it out, be part of our game changer community, being part of the change that you want to see, allowing us a small role to play in your journey. We are on the road to 1K, so we do invite you to follow us across all of our social media platforms, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.
just feel like no one's listening.